meeting to order. And this is my first time for people who are visiting here that I'm chairing, so welcome. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Pam Huckle, and I'm just here because I'm interested. Thank you.
Same. I'm Linda Crossfield,
Welcome.
New Nelson resident and interested to see how things are going.
Yeah, our meetings are open to the public, so I'm glad you're here. Welcome.
New resident from where?
Kenya.
Not too far. I'd like to do the land acknowledgement. I like to acknowledge that the land that we gather is the traditional territory of the Ktunaxa, Syilx, and Sinixt peoples, and is home to Métis and many diverse Aboriginal persons. We honor their connection to the land and rivers and respect the importance of the environment to our strength as a community. The first item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and I would like to suggest that we remove 2C from that because I want to speak to it later. So what we have in the consent agenda is the meeting agenda, the minutes, and the action list. If you're okay with that, to pass a motion, I need a mover and a seconder. Eric, Devin, all in favor? Carried. The next item is public participation, and normally there is this standing item, and we read it out and welcome visitors, whatever, and give you the instructions. But at last meeting, I think there was a discussion about why is it there, because we do have our own process for public presentations, and in terms of the meeting, it's open to the public, so you're here, and at the end of the meeting, if you have any questions, you can ask us. So that came up as a discussion, so it's back here, and apparently no other municipal police boards have that as a standing item. So for discussion here is, what do we want to do with that? Because we do have our own process and policy, so it seems a bit redundant. And when we looked back, historically, it was something that one of the mayors brought us from city council. It was just brought here because that's what they do at city council. So it's a little bit redundant, but it's up to you. I'm just putting it out there. But what do you think? Like, whether we keep it and just then I would have to read it verbatim every time there's a meeting, and just seems a bit pointless. But it's up to the members. What do you think?
I think it's redundant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, and yeah, we just have to, we don't have to pass a motion or anything, so we can just take it off for the next meeting, Shiloh. Okay.
Nobody else has anything to say about it?
No, I really have no feelings about it whatsoever.
Yeah, it just seemed a little, I always thought it was like, they would read it word to word, and there'll be nobody here, and they'd still have to read it because it's an item, right?
Yeah.
This way, when there are people, we welcome them and we tell them, that they can ask questions at the end of the meeting. So that's what we do, right? So it seems a bit waste, yeah. Okay, so we can move on to the next item. Is the police board manual, and I think the last time we left it that Sue was going to do some updating, and then she was going to meet with Devin.
On it, and then we were driving,
So
so
Devin.
I've been incredibly busy. So Lena and I chatted about it really quick. We have a governance meeting at the end of the month, so we're going to look at the police board manual together then, including edits that Sue has done. So it'll be on the agenda if we meet in July.
See what happens,
Yeah.
yeah. I think because of the changes in the Police Act, there'll be lots of updating happening with the manual, and Shiloh will have to help us with that, right? Like, I don't think you and I are going to sit down and be working on the manual, so yeah, Shiloh will be at that meeting, and so the three of us can talk about next steps.
Shiloh.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll make it to that meeting, hopefully.
Yeah, it's on my calendar, so.
Okay. Any questions? All right, moving right along. The next is a special event permit issue, and we had talked about that before. And Jane has written a draft letter that was sent out to people because we wanted to just be sure that when nonprofits have special events, that they're not being charged extra for services provided by the police. And there was some discussion about what the city process has at the moment. And Janice is not here, so I don't think that, that we'll give that update, but.
She emailed me with.
Oh, she did? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Over to you then, Jane.
Yeah, so, Janice, the background on this is that there was a slight change, the NPD were recommending a slight change to special event permits to ensure that they had enough time for, my understanding, for developing the security and safety plans for special events, because that hasn't always been the case in the past. And at the same time, there was a conversation about the NPD providing cost information to the city about the additional costs of security and safety for special events. And so at no time was there any conversation from Nelson Police about what the city was going to do in terms of that cost information if they were going to pass it on to nonprofits. However, around this table, we had, and I was one of the people who had a concern that there would be a downstream effect with that, and eventually nonprofits could potentially be expected to pay for the costs of their own policing for special events, which I thought would be a real barrier for, most nonprofits around here are small. Many of them represent marginalized groups. So I wrote a draft letter to City Council from the board, to the city. And one of my questions, and Janice is not here to answer it, is who it actually gets addressed to. So Janice responded to me and said there is no policy currently on special events. There is a practice. Mm-hmm. And the practice is that somebody goes in who wants to have a special event, and they talk to, and they have to fill out the form. Yeah. And so that's kind of it. So nor is it on anyone's work plan that there will be a policy developed for special events. So.
Yeah, so how do people feel? I feel it then even a bit more important that letter be sent. Yeah. Because there is no policy, and that would be, again, because the concern was for the nonprofits, there wouldn't be any event if they had any kind of a charge. So have you all read the letter? Like, I think it covers everything, so.
Yeah, I think the letter's great. I suppose it's like a suggestion is that maybe that we, and I couldn't think of a different group, but like to add it, like a second group.
Yeah, if I could have think of another group, I would have added it too.
Okay, so it's not just me. That would be the only thing I would suggest, is that we add like another, because it's really speaks specifically to like the 2S LGBTQ community. But if we could highlight another group, if anybody can think of like another group that might also be at the whim of the politics of the day, because that's the concern, right? That's one of the big concerns, is that it's at the whim of kind of public opinion who gets charged and who doesn't, or who is, especially with kind of the rise in anti-queer rhetoric and protests and that sort of thing, that I can't actually think of another group in town anyway. Like
Rotary does their pancake breakfast. I don't think that they're probably going to be a controversial group that,
right,
or a group that will necessarily need any a lot of extra security in the future, whereas Pride Parade may, depending on what's happening, right? So I couldn't think of another group, but I am so happy to hear people's feedback on that. If you can think of another group that might be in that same boat.
Yeah, I can't think of any other group either. Okay. So I don't know how important.
Like if we lived in the city, but we don't even really have like minority groups aren't doing a lot of like we aren't seeing a lot of like festivals and stuff. Like I was like, maybe the South Asian community that's here, or
Well,
Yeah, if they
there's,
had a parade or something, so,
there's festivals, but they're not out in the outside in the public, right?
That's what I mean, like that
Yeah.
would require extra policing.
but, so maybe something like kind of really generic and vague, like,
Yeah,
a statement that you would add saying, should the,
Potential, yeah.
yeah, some kind of a, like,
I mean, are there, like,
I don't
are
know.
there any other public events that you folks can think of? Because you're the ones who are reviewing special events
That are
Permits.
nonprofit?
Mhm,
that are nonprofit
that would need security.
and
Right.
might need, escalating amounts of safety and security. Like
But
free
any
Palestine group or
parade would,
a
Any,
Any parade needs
festival
more
or something
people.
like that.
any parade, all the schools.
Yeah, any parade.
The Mothers Run.
What parade?
any kind of parade would need
yeah.
extra services, whether it's traffic control, right? It's not necessarily
Correct.
safety issues, but police.
I just can't think of a nonprofit group who's running any of those things.
I think of something, I'll email it to you.
Okay.
Something comes to my mind.
So with
Stop
that,
it.
with that sort of minor change, then the letter's ready to go, and maybe we can find out from Janice who to send it to.
Yeah, I was gonna ask her, but of course she's not here today, so.
Yeah.
I put it to special events personnel at city
Mhm. So,
currently, so.
so it doesn't have to come back to the.
Yeah.
Right? We make a
think it's
decision, the letter's
great.
good,
Yeah.
ready to go.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, this meeting is moving along really quickly. Chief, you're on your report.
Okay, sorry, I don't know if it's just too many meetings today, but I feel like I'm losing my voice a little bit, so it gets a little scratchy. I want to start with my own acknowledgement. So I just wanted to start by acknowledging that tomorrow is the 80th anniversary of D-Day. And they refer to that as the start of the end of the Second World War. And just to recognize all the soldiers and all the wars and conflicts that have given us the freedom that we all enjoy. So I think everybody take a minute to think of that tomorrow, and realizing that, most of those veterans now, if they're still with us, are in their mid to late 90s, and there's a few over 100 now. So
Yeah.
they're saying it's probably one of the last anniversaries that there's going to be any kind of presence of veterans that were actually involved in that. So in regards to the BC Association of Municipal Chiefs and BC ACP, the BC Association of Chiefs of Police, Raj and I are both attending meetings in Penticton next week for 3.5 days. So don't have much of an update for you at this meeting, but we should have a comprehensive update for the July meeting. Just an update on the dispatch rentals. It looks like we're on schedule to have that full renovation done downstairs starting next Monday, June the 10th. So it's going to cause us a few operational issues. Probably the most significant being that the front counter is going to be closed. So there's not going to be public access other than by appointment. So Shiloh is working on, or has completed, a media release that will be sent out in a couple of days, just letting the public know that this is happening, so that people won't be able to come to the front door and to come in and speak with anyone. We still have the intercom at the front door, so if there's an emergency or somebody comes to the police department needing help immediately, they can still buzz that and get in and get some assistance. But otherwise, criminal record checks, fingerprinting, some of those types of things that people regularly come for, they'll have to make an appointment for those, and then we'll set it up so it's safe to bring them in one of the side doors, either through the cell block or through the Victoria Street entrance to the building. Again, depending what they're here for, but they have to go in the cell block for fingerprinting, some of that stuff anyways. So, but an officer would meet them outside and make sure it's safe for them to come in.
Question there.
Yep.
Will the dispatchers still be able, where will they be working?
Right across the hall.
Oh,
So it's setting up there because they're tearing that all out.
Right,
Redoing it. It's been one of those things that with technology, screens have been added, different computer systems have been added, and that's very ergonomically unfit. And, they're stuck there for 12 hours of their shift. And, it's a lot of the shifts are just one dispatcher. So it's not like they can really go anywhere for a break. Sometimes it's challenging for them to get a 2-minute bathroom break. So we try and help with that. And hopefully this will make the workstations a lot more comfortable and ergonomic, and not lead to the problems that non-ergonomic places lead to. Community safety officer. So the new community safety officer has been doing an excellent job and has been very proactive out and about in the community. And Inspector Rice has been her immediate supervisor and meeting with her quite regularly just to kind of go over, you know, what types of things she needs to be doing, training, some follow up on different things that come up during her day out of foot patrol and stuff like that. So I'm going to turn it over to Inspector Rice and he can give you a more comprehensive update because I think it's worth taking the time to kind of hear what she's been working on.
Mhm. Yeah, the short version is Silk Edwards is doing an amazing job. The longer version, she's been really focused on that training piece, obviously within her first sort of couple months here. So doing a lot of online training through the Canadian Police Knowledge Network, as well as one-on-one training for like legal studies and just the functional aspects of the job internally within our systems. She has participated in our in-house use of force training as well, so assisting the officers with immediate rapid deployment and other types of training there. And then she's been really working hard at meeting with stakeholders and building those relationships. So that's put a strong emphasis on that as being an important aspect of the job, obviously. So that community engagement piece is kind of critical, and she's already done such an incredible job of making those relationships, building those relationships, and establishing new relationships. Key stakeholders like anchors and Nelson Cares and et cetera. So she'll continue doing that work. She's really increased our visibility at community events. So there's been 9 events in the past 2 months that she's attended. Obviously, we have those Saturday markets going on. We had the Mother's Day market. And there's a couple school events as well that she was able to participate in. So that was really good to have someone in uniform representing Nelson Police at those events. And then she's focusing on now getting some bicycle safety information out there. So trying to engage with the community on e-bike safety as well as just regular bicycle safety, trying to hit the timeline just before the end of school here. And addressing the graffiti problems that tend to, increase over the course of the summer. And she's also worked really hard at meeting with the business owners in our sort of downtown core here, just trying to get updated information. The police end up having problems when there's like break-in enters or crimes that happen after hours and a business is closed, and the information we may have in our database is dated. And so we're left there trying to figure things out, and we're wasting officer time because we can't leave a place, insecure like that. So it's been good work and very effective, the amount of information she's getting. And plus, you get that engagement piece too with the business owners to figure out what problems are you having, what are you experiencing? And so she's giving us all that feedback as well. So we can sort of capture that data and then implement some enforcement action that might actually add to some public safety. So overall, again, the short version, she's doing an incredible job. Very happy. Any questions?
Just a comment, I was on Baker today and I stopped and chatted with her, and she was engaged with somebody before that. And so people seem pretty interested in engaging with her, and yeah, she's super positive and seemed like she was doing a great job. Has a really nice demeanor, right? So approachable and what you want for a stand-up. So yeah, it was great. And she was talking about the bike safety stuff that she was doing at Trafalgar. Saw the photos online that you posted. So.
Yeah, I think Chris has pointed out a few times she's very self-motivated and proactive, and even on that business property representative updates we've been getting, you look at the stats, she's increased that 200-300% over what was previously being done in that program. So, it speaks volumes to what she's accomplishing on her own already, and still really quite new to it. So I'm pretty happy with where I think this is going to end up by the end of the pilot project.
If she has any magic pills for getting teenagers to wear helmets, let me know when they're on those e-bikes.
So, to that end, I've actually heard, because there was a Facebook post, I guess. To that end, I've heard some questions about enforcement around helmets and kids on e-bikes, and kind of what the department is doing. I just had a couple of questions, and I said, well, I have a meeting, I can ask.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's definitely on our minds as well. And so we're going to work with Silk, but also with our regular officers as well, because of course, the community safety officer is not the enforcement piece. That's going to be the regular officers. But I think there's we have to inform the public, and Silk plays a really key role in that. And so that's what we're looking at, sort of, defining the roles and dealing with that. And yes, it's something we are working on right now.
Yeah, I think bylaw plays a part in that too.
By law, okay.
Let's say when I was a kid, I got a free ice cream going for wearing a helmet, like more than 1 cent, so.
Yeah, that's just effective.
Because you got brain freeze and it just.
Yeah. That's great.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay. That was the end of my report too.
Is end of yours? Okay. And any questions for the chief? Hearing none, you will have to pass a motion to receive and accept the chief's report as presented. Devin moves, Eric seconds, all in favor? Carried. Deputy Chief, your turn.
I don't have much in regards to general patrol. We had an increase in bear activity in the city, so just let the members and the public know that just be cautious of that. And their wildlife, and won't be approaching them and trying to pet them. As it relates to general investigations, we're still working on several property and persons related crimes in the criminal investigation section. Otherwise, that's really about it.
What's your role in bear activity? Like if conservation officers aren't available or something, do you get called or?
Yeah, we get called, and we just, most of it is just to track the bear and make sure we can kind of scare it out. But if it does become, a public safety concern, then, we'd have to do the unthinkable.
Right.
Any questions for the deputy? Devin?
Yeah, I'm just curious, like I'm looking, at the May operational statistics, and so there's 711 calls for service, and then the properly related incidents and these different. So are those like the 14, 26, 26, are those like from the calls for service, or I don't quite know, like.
Yeah, the short answer is yes.
Yeah, so, okay, so that's in there. So, like of the, so that's what, 70 kind of incidents that are trackable here. So does that mean that, so of the, other 600 calls, what, like, I guess I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah.
As to, I don't even know.
So the response there, that's a good question, Devin. I can break it down for you.
Thank you.
So basically the 711 calls are what the officer can report for the month. And we broke them down specifically just in general terms of 14 of those calls, of those 711 were property related calls.
Okay.
So that basically that we investigated a property related offense, break and enter, and that's what we're kind of focusing on. And the other calls that they're attending, if that's your next question, is relating to, could be camping calls, it could be other social disorder calls that they're attending to. We really don't break into the minutia of what those calls are. We just break into these general calls. Okay. 26 mental health calls we attended this month, 26 person-related offenses that we attended to, and 14 property-related.
Person-related offenses like assault.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So the other calls don't need action, any kind
No,
of.
they do, but they could be
not
like
significant.
no, they are significant. It's just that, we break it down this way. Otherwise, we'd have a sheet about this long.
Oh,
yeah,
breaking down the
right.
categories, right? So, it's better for us to just kind of keep it really general and give you guys an understanding of where we are with the calls. Some of these 711 calls could be attending bar incidences or licensed premise incidences, motor vehicle infractions. These are all those calls that are kind of involved in that, right? So it just gives us a general oversight of what the operations was for the month.
And calls for service, is that calls into the police department, or is that just like anything that an officer responds to, whether it was a direct report from the public?
Anything that we wind up generating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And that was a good question because I had the same question.
Yeah,
You know, you're accustomed to graphs adding up, right?
Yeah, it was just really, it was
So I
like,
thought, oh, that doesn't add up.
no, it doesn't add up. And you see at the bottom there, it's for the year to date, like it talks about the year to calls. So we got 2,922 calls. So you can kind of see what the volume is for the 5 months and what we're kind of being projected to get to, like, probably gonna be right around where we are every year, right? So,
that's wild. 3,000 calls since January,
yes, for May, up until the end of May.
the end of May. Yeah.
So, you know, if you look at it, we're probably gonna be well over, quite close to 7,000, over 7,000 calls this year.
By the end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, no other questions?
I'm just curious what RMS 8.1 is.
Oh, I missed that page. I apologize. Technological implementations. We had an upgrade in our records management system. That's RMS. We scheduled digital evidence management to run a pilot in August. And then an upgraded version of electronic notes is going to be released in July of this year.
Great. And Department Water, that's great though, to see that that's going to be going out to the department. That was a great presentation last month. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, ideally, I mean, it's been a couple of decades of working towards paperless, paperless files, and paperless investigations. I'm not sure we'll ever get to completely paperless, but a lot of these systems kind of combine to, interface with, the notes are electronic now, so they can be paperless. A lot of the reports are on the computer stuff now, so they can be paperless. A lot of the digital evidence that we collect, obviously, is paperless. So slowly getting to where the majority of the RTCCs or the reports to Crown Council that is used for charge approval and then prosecution and trial in court is all based on electronic paperless files, but half the Crown still like us to print them out on paper for them anyway, so
That's a generational thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. So, motion to accept the deputy's report as presented. Devin and Jane. All in favor? Great, carried. Okay, moving right along. Director's reports. Does anyone have a report?
You asked to bring 2C out to talk about.
Yeah. So I'm going to step out of my chair and be, director and report. As you know, I took over from Sue as the board member for the BC Association of Police Boards. So I was at the very first meeting online, 3 hours long, lots of information. So I just thought I would, just bring some highlights. They reviewed the conference. It was a great success. They made money, profit. So they were very happy with their financial situation. Yeah. How did they do that? That's cannot be cool. It's one source of income for them, the conference. That was nice. They had gone through the strategic planning, so the organization is kind of refocused, and so they are updating the constitution and bylaws, stuff like that. Like that came up at the AGM, and so they're following through with that. They're focusing on advocacy, advisory, and networking. It all kind of made sense that it's been that they have reviewed and updated their goals and vision and so on. It just makes sense. It was my first meeting, and I'm not quite sure, what I could gain or how I could input, because we are so different, and it's very focused on larger centers and the issues that come up. They come up
everywhere but here.
Mm-hmm. So that it's kind of important for me to be there, but a lot of stuff, it doesn't relate to us. With the changes to the Police Act, Katie was there from the ministry, to give us an update, and she said that the training, the 101 training for the Watson training has now all have to be updated to conform with the new act. So they're going to be doing that, and apparently there's going to be training for chiefs and deputy chiefs. Did you hear about that?
I heard talk about it, but I'm
Yeah,
not sure
like
where
it's
they
good.
were going with it.
Happening real soon, apparently. So that was nice to hear. Yeah, I was also told that there will be training for board members, all board members, but on chairing and being vice chair of the board. Because that, again, is going to be really new.
Yeah.
And rather than just say, we appoint 2 people and those people get the training, they want all of us to get the training because, every couple of years, you have new people in those roles. So that, it was gonna, it's good to know that we don't all have to know exactly how to do it, but that's helping this training coming, so that was good. And then the other thing that I wanted to bring to you was that we were part of a focus group for the study that's being done on regionalization, the white paper or whatever they're calling it. Like the researchers have been hired to put a paper together on what regionalization would look like, I guess, and but not promote it or discourage, right? Like if they're just going to, and so they were doing focus groups and they were also going to be talking to different municipalities. So that's where, again, I felt like, I wasn't prepared. Like we haven't talked about regionalization here, but I did let them know that we were different and that we had different issues that we were dealing with, and that in our region we just have the Nelson Police, and then we work with all the RCMP departments, and we have a good relationship. And it's kind of unsettling. Like we have no idea. So I just put that out, and they were taking notes. So they noted that. And then, of course, I didn't remember, but Raj is going to be on the meeting, right? So he can talk about that, but
Yes.
fill us in. But so, yeah, those are the main things that and I did also ask them for some kind of an orientation for new board members so that because I'm not even sure what I can bring back to the board, like what's confidential, because you would be on a different board, right? Like I can't share everything with this board. Maybe I can, I don't know. So we're going to get an orientation with their chair.
Great.
Yeah.
Who's the chair now? Is it Michaela?
No, Lara.
Okay.
Lara's the new chair. Yeah.
So, sorry, just to clarify, when you said we were part of focus groups,
We meaning like
the whole board
the
was?
whole board.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so the researchers were present and and that's, they told us about the study and how it wasn't, they don't have any preconceived ideas, or they're not going to promote one way or the other, but they were hired to just gather information from the various departments, and that they would, and I think we got a letter too about the, I remember reading, so that board met, and so, that's one way that we get our ideas to them, but also it doesn't stop individual departments from having their own feedback, to the group. Oh, that's it. All right. Back in the chair. Unless you have some questions.
No, thank you.
Okay, great. And I thought that it would be good to present that way rather than like we used to just get it in the consent agenda, but just little, like a one-page notes. And I never found that to be informative. Like I would prefer just and then usually with the director's reports, we have nothing to say normally because we don't do anything much in between. So that seemed like a better
Unless we've
place,
been to a
right?
conference or something, but that's.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway. that's it.
Do we want to explain to the members of the public just about the chair thing, the change in the police act? Just like 10 seconds of that?
Because like with who's chairing, because you mentioned that whole thing about chairing.
I think
Oh,
that's-
yeah, the police act is being reviewed and some changes have already been made. And one of them is that it used to be that the mayor had to be the chair, but that is no longer that. So when we go into the next part of our meeting in camera, we're going to be talking about that because it'll have to be one of us, board members maybe, right? Like, so that change has happened. And so it's not automatic. It could still be the mayor, I guess, but it's not well, as it used to routinely just be that. And the mayor was always the chair. And sometimes that puts them in a position of conflict because they are also funding. It was problematic. So the government has listened to us and finally it's taking a long time for the changes, but they have made some changes that are in effect right away. Yeah. All right. Chair's report. That's it, I guess. I just did my report. Yeah.
And they
Okay, so new business, regionalization,
I
right?
should mention that the mayor was appointed the city council.
Oh, yes, we heard that the mayor, the mayor continues to be the city council rep. Yeah. Thank you. So new business, regionalization, is that what you're going to talk about?
Yeah, I can't speak to unless it's in camera because it was a data collection as a result of the, so I was basically told that the information at this point is just data collection point, so I will speak to it in the in-camera session.
Okay, but do you want to just explain to us why, like your role?
Yeah, my role is just I'm part of the regionalization panel for the province. I'll be a representative for the Interior Municipal Department, for the Nelson Police Department in regards to what a regionalization would look for us and what are our input and our outputs and what we required for us to, if we're going to look at a regional police service, where do we land and what are our requirements going to be. So.
Yeah, and I didn't remember that. Like, I know that you were appointed, but it didn't click when I was there. So I'm really relieved that you are there, and so that they will hear our sort of uniqueness, right? Like, different needs from others. Yeah. Thank you. Next meeting in July.
I don't know if we have quorum, because I know that Jane is potentially away, Eric is away. That just leaves
3 of us.
3 of you.
And that's when Katie Charlton's coming.
Well, I still think we should
Yeah.
still meet.
Yeah.
I just don't know whether you have the capacity to have a formal board meeting.
So we still keep that date available, and we will have a meeting, but it'll be with Katie, and it may not be a regular board meeting because we won't have quorum.
I'm still hoping we'll have the 2 new directors will have been appointed by then, but I won't know until.
Well, so it could still happen that we would have quorum.
Potentially. But
Yeah.
I won't know until maybe the middle of June.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was not happening, but so it still potentially could
Potentially,
happen.
yeah.
I hope it does happen because that's, I know the person that I interviewed is going to be great. Right? So, and then there's the city person as well. Right?
We're down directors right now.
Right. Yeah.
Because people have finished their terms
Terms,
or, yeah.
The other thing, you just reminded me, one of the things that Katie talked about was that the intake system, like right now, you have vacancy and then you advertise and people apply, right? But they're going to have a year-long intake. So like, for instance, say you have a friend, you say, Pam, you're interested, you can just apply right away, although there may not be any vacancies, and you'll be interviewed and like ready to go so that when a vacancy comes, that we don't have to wait 5-6 months, right? So it's a new system, and we're hoping that would prevent the kind of
Expedite.
yeah. There's so much, like when Jane and I came on, same thing, that the board had functioned without enough people, and then we joined them. Oh, they were all excited, and then it's happening again. Terms come up and people leave, and then we don't get them replaced immediately. So yeah, that change may do the trick. Hopefully. Okay, well,
One last item before we close.
yes, please.
Okay. It's part of my update in the in-camera on the staffing updates, but I just want to point out to the public that this is Inspector Rice's last police board meeting. For those who don't know, he's going on to the Oak Bay Police Department and promoting to their deputy chief. So congratulations to Chris on that. And just in speaking earlier about some of the electronic file management and disclosure and all that stuff. Chris came to us with a lot of expertise in that area. He spent a lot of time on different committees and panels, developing some of these systems and the rollouts, the policies, the various things. So, certainly, it's unfortunate he was here for quite a short time, but in bringing that knowledge and, being a trainer with some of that stuff, we benefited from a lot of excellent training in a short period of time, bringing our processes and systems, advancing them significantly in that time. And again, I just want to thank Chris for for that benefit that he's brought to the department, and sorry to see him go, but it's an excellent opportunity for him, and I'm sure he's going to do a great job there. And again, it's a small community, so we'll still be in touch and reach out to him for some technical assistance once in a while, I'm sure, and see him at some of the BCACP and AMCP meetings, and keep starting to be at IACP, so I might see him there. But
Yeah, we'll see.
so, anyways,
Thank you.
just wanted to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks for your community service.
Thank you. If I can, I just respond to that. I also want to just acknowledge what I've gained from being at the Nelson Police Department and what I've gained specifically from being part of this board. It's a fantastic board full of fantastic people, and I've learned a lot just listening and learning, just sitting here sometimes. But you're also very good about engaging with me, and I've really appreciated that. And like I say, I definitely have gained from being in the Nelson Police Department, and it's you attributed to a lot of the work that you're doing here, and I really appreciate it. I also want to acknowledge the deputy chief and the chief. Those two have mentored me, obviously, for the past 10 months, I guess it's been. And so, again, I think my success is largely born to the mentorship that I've received from them both. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
This is where we hug.
Too far away.
Yeah.
We're sorry
There's
to
a line.
We're sorry to see you go, but,
Yeah.
Thank you,
we're
sir.
thrilled to have you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Well, that's the end of our meeting, I guess, so I need a motion to adjourn. Okay, all in favor? Carried. How was that for you folks?
Thank you very much for letting us come. And